Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone who joining us for our global mentorship session. I want to mention that this is our official greeting because you guys are joining us from different places from all over the world. And it's a great pleasure for me to being a global mentorship program leader for already last 3 years. However, I want to mention that when the idea creating about the global mentorship program, I have been applicant and I have joined to the process. And during that time, I have met a brilliant alumni who has been very inspiring for me. And I want to mention that if not them, I don't know if I could be a Chevening scholar because there is a fact that we have reached to the interview stage because of us and because of our story. However, sometimes we don't know how to present, or when we have reached to the interview stage, the anxieties goes high. So that's why the idea was also inspiring me to keep continuous volunteering activities. And today, for the third global mentorship program, we have three amazing speakers. I would love to ask you to everyone if it's possible to mute yourself to make the process in general much more in the peaceful environmental. So only the speaker can unmute themselves. And let me introduce amazing Chevening scholars for today's session. It's Muhammad, Sandro, and Farouk. I can't mention or I can't continue without mentioning thank you for all of you for contribute your time, for being committed to share your experience to the new generation. And thank you. It's amazing chance for me to being here. And please, floor is for you. Just simply introduce yourself. Where are you from? Which country are you from? And which year scholar are you? And then we can officially start after our introduce. Muhammad, you're first on the screen, so go ahead.
Hi. So I'm Mohammed Jabbas, a Chevening awardee for the year of 2024. I am currently studying MBA, Master in Business Administration at Brighton University. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandro. I'm a journalist from Georgia. I'm doing my master's in computational and data journalism at Cardiff University. The less fancy way to say is that I'm basically learning programming and data analysis for journalism.
You,
All right.
Farouk.
So my name is Farouk, Zenagui Farouk. I'm from Algeria, and I'm Achievement Scholar for the year of 2024. I'm currently doing a master's in international business at the University of Leeds.
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, I mean, if you guys, your interview is online, just make sure that your microphone is unmute. So as you as you already see that I was speaking and it was muted. So I just wanted to mention one detail before we officially start. These three amazing Chevening scholar has been part of the Chevening mentorship program last year, as I remember correctly. And they are right now willing to share their experience. And let's just start officially. And Sandro, you're the first in the presentation. Please go ahead. And I'm so happy to presented him. He is a Georgian scholar as well. And always when I see Georgian volunteer who want to share experience, I'm much more pro. So Sandro, go ahead. Floor is for you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mai, for organizing this. So, I guess I'm in a way a veteran of Chevening application because I've applied 4 times. Out of these 4 times, I've been on interviews 3 times, and I've been on reserve 2 times. So it took me 4 years. And what I'm going to talk about, first of all, it's my personal experience. And secondly, I mean, I have consumed probably hundreds of hours of Chevening related content because I had to do the preparation, as I said, for 4 years in a row. So, I mean, I have gathered some information and I have some observations which I'll be happy to share with you. But of course, it's just my personal opinion, and I mean, you shouldn't take it for granted, and it's obviously not a gospel. Next slide, please. So, this is one of the most nerve-wracking periods, probably. You got selected for the interview, you have weeks left before you'll go and speak to the panel, and there will be the people who are going to judge you. This is very worrying, and well, I and many other people, we do our best in order to be liked, which I guess is the first, well, it's quite a big mistake because trying to be liked by someone is a manipulation. And when people note that someone tries to manipulate them, they don't like it. And then it becomes defensive, and you might get the exact opposite result of what you're trying to achieve. Um, there are many things. There are, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of variables which could affect how your interview goes. The last day maybe was very tiring for the panel and they've heard already too much, or maybe the previous applicant spoke too much and they are already tired, or maybe they have the bad family situation and they are not being present fully, or maybe, I mean, there are so many things which can go wrong, which can affect how you will be marked. That, I mean, I've observed it way many times, basically. The questions which many applicants have, including me, which I had, well, they do matter because you have them, but they are irrelevant. So basically, how do you look? Well, unless you are going in a pajamas, probably it doesn't matter that much. Or like you thinking of some catchphrase to impress the panel, probably it also doesn't matter that much because again, they might spot it. The the point is that I know it's easy to say now because the pressure is all gone now, but it's very important not to overthink and not to lose focus from what really matters. On the interview where someone is going to invest, well, roughly £40,000 in you, you are not in control and you will never be in control of such situations. So don't even try unless you are a master manipulator, and then probably you should seek a career in politics. But that's outside my expertise. Let's go to the next slide, please. What matters is your essays. What matters are the criterias by which most probably the interviewing panel is going to evaluate you. We're going to speak about this exact criteria a bit later, but now let's revise your essays. I can't stress enough how important it is. On any interview, most probably in any country in the world, you're going to need the examples. When they're going to ask you something, you need the examples to justify your answer. I heard this question a lot. Should it be old examples from my essays or should it be new examples from my essays? To be honest, I don't think I'm I'm hearing echo of myself. Yeah, thank you, Solidarity Community. Anyways, so it's like it doesn't matter that much whether your examples, I think so, are old or new. What matters is how you present them, how convincing you can share them to the panel. Good essays, well, usually the essays which make to the second round, to the interviewing, they have a certain spirit, a certain story which the applicant tried to convey. So the biggest task, I think, the Chevening applicants have before the interviews is to reread their essays and to understand what's the spirit of their essay is, what's the story they willingly or sometimes even unwillingly told in their essays, because this is the story against which you will be judged by the panel. So the biggest number one task, in my opinion, is for you to preserve the spirit of your essays. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, to practice. I mean, I have practiced, well, not, so basically I've been interviewed 3 times, and once I haven't practiced, I thought that I have written these essays, I will make it anyways. Well, on that time, I wasn't even reserved. I got a rejection straight away. So I changed my approach when I was called for the interview for the second time, and I did practice. The thing with practice is, well, how it worked for me. Many people, can you please mute yourself, whoever you are? Thank you so much. Anyways, I was trying to, I lost my track of thoughts for a moment. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So basically, what I did, I recorded myself telling these 4 different essays. And then I was listening to the recordings, and I was trying to shorten it without actually losing what I was trying to say, because my answers were very, very long, like 6, 7 minutes. Then interviews last roughly for 30 minutes, out of which roughly 6, 7 minutes are the presentation and the closing. So you have 25 minutes at best to tell your story, which is not a lot. But the good thing is that it's still more than you were able to written. So ideally, you can tell what you've written in your essays, or bring the new examples. As I said, it doesn't matter, but you have more time. You have more opportunities to make your case to the Chevening. There are also many people say that mock interviews help them, but frankly speaking, it wasn't my case, because I did 2 or maybe 3 mock interviews, but in the end, I got more and more confused, because these are always the opinions of other people, which I think, including mine, by the way, do not matter that much. What matters is how you see your situation, how you want to present your story, because in the end, no matter what we or anyone other tells you, you know your story the best, and you understand the context of what you're saying best of all. So practice, but do not memorize, because when you practice a lot, then you start to sound robotic. It's not about you remembering the exact lines from your essays. It's about you remembering the structure and the flow of it. I guess, yeah, now is the best time to say that when it comes to the essay, well, the questions, yeah. Well, I also should mention this. The questions, there are some variations, but they're usually on your essays. So these are the different variations of the questions on why you are a good leader, which requires you to bring the example, the question on how you work together with someone to achieve something. Again, there might be the variations of this question, but the essence is the same. So basically, you need the good example of you collaborating with someone to achieve someone. There definitely is the question about you going to the UK, and why do you want to study there? Why do you select your course? You know that it's in your essays. So in one way or another, most probably these questions will come up. So in first 2 cases, it's quite advisable, and I did that to users, not the smart, but I've forgotten it.
Star
Smart should
approach, right?
STAR approach, thanks,
Okay.
Brian. Yeah, so basically situation, task, action, result. Structure your answer like this and practice while you know. So basically, what was my situation? What was the task? What was my action? And what result did I achieve? So be very, very specific. And when it comes to the career goal, I think that was my biggest takeaway and the biggest change I had on my third interview is what are you going to change? You have to use the so-called SMART approach, which is like your career goals. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. But the biggest thing from my experience, again, what you can change, what you promise you will change, either in your industry or in your field. Uh, if you haven't emphasized it enough in your essay and you still got into the interview stage, because these things happen, please work on that. Work on what you are going to change, how you will justify it. Next slide. Yeah, now we come to the thing what really matters. We said that what they think of you, how they will perceive you, whether they will like you or dislike you, it doesn't matter that much because this is not what's going either bring you your Chevening scholarship or not bring you. What matters is you scoring high against the criteria the panel has while evaluating you and then making into the top tier of people who actually get this scholarship. The thing is that there is no official list of the criteria according to which you are going to be judged because yeah, if you know them, you're basically hacking the system and it's unfair. Although, if you will Google and search Chevening interview scoring guides, you will find certain documents which will give you a very good idea of what most probably the panel wants to hear from you. And your job is to tell them what they want to hear, to rephrase or restructure or basically to polish your answer in a way that it's what the panel wants to hear from the successful applicants. That's the most important thing. Again, the criteria, as you probably heard it and read it many times, is going to judge you against your 4 essays, the 4 criteria which matter for Chevening. And let's go next. Well, yeah. Imagine that you are not, well, again, it's very easy to say now, I know that because the pressure and the worrying which you experienced before the interview and probably the stakes are very high. It's really hard, but abstracting yourself from the situation is also extremely important. It's like imagine you went out for tea or for the beers, or like you just basically hanging out with these people, sitting somewhere. Because if you approach it differently, if you approach it as an exam and you are looking for the, well, to say I'm thinking how to put it. Well, if it's obvious that you are trying to be liked or tell them what they want to hear, this won't work. And moreover, you always can feel it when someone is behaving as a student or is very unsure of themselves. And again, this might work against you. You might feel very stressed or unfree to say what you want to say. So basically, even the panel usually, and like this is my experience, and this is what many other applicants are saying, they're usually quite friendly. They are treating you positively. They're there to help you, not to find the gaps in your essays. So, well, most probably. Again, of course, it depends country per country, but in general, that's the gist. And also, importantly, what I've been saying, the countries are different, the cultures are different. So, there are certain things well, in my country, which are considered rude, which cannot be considered rude in your country. So you know, again, your country the best. You know what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what seems fake, what doesn't seem fake. The best strategy in the interview is to approach anything from the position of the common sense. Like put yourself in the shoes of the interviewers, and think if someone came to me and said this, how would I feel about that? And probably the what you will answer to that question, this is the right answer. So it's not an exam, it's a conversation. Try to make it a conversation. Then, again, very important because there is a lot of anxiety, and basically there are a certain list of questions where, like, there are maybe over 100 questions of what you might be asked. You might be asked different things, but the questions, they will be, as I said, around these four things which Chevening looks for in you, your four essays, but they might be rephrased. So it's very, very important for you to actually listen. What are they asking? And if you're unsure, again, it's absolutely fine to ask. If you don't hear it for the second time, ask again. It's okay. I'm sure no one's going to judge you for that because English, in most of the cases, is not our native language. And Chevening interview is not the test of you knowing or not knowing English. So this is not your concern. Then, as I said, you should be able to adapt your answers to the questions, which is, yeah, you understand. You should say what they want to hear. And lastly, but I don't think that's obligatory because usually people say, oh, you go there. So, like, after the interview, you are supposed to ask the question. But if you don't feel like not asking the question, don't ask the question. Well, then you can be mindful of other people's time because most probably there's someone in the next room waiting for this very same interview. So if you don't feel like asking something, just don't do that. I mean, I don't think that it also matters. So to sum up what I just said, and I also tried to keep it quite brief, most of the things the applicants, well, including me and many other people I saw, are worried about, usually do not matter. They will not bring you anything except for worries and make you lose focus from what really matters. And what really matters is the four criteria of Chevening: your leadership experience, your networking experience, why you want to study in the UK, and what you will change in your country when you acquire the British education and the connections you'll get in Chevening and everything. And also, yeah, of course, how well you can to convey it and share it with the panel. Everything else is usually and mostly is just the area of overthinking, which makes you to lose focus. So I hope that all of you will be able to tackle their own demons before the interview, because this is usually what happens and this is the hardest part. And I wish you all good luck in that. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Sandro. I'm super, super proud of you. And I look at him, I was like, okay. Because I remember that we also had a mock-up interview. And yeah, I mean, I'm impressed and I'm envy to the all applicants who has opportunity to listen to you. So, and thank you again for your time. Let's move on to the second speaker. What I just want to mention before is that maybe some speaker will repeat the same tips, but you should remember this, which means that this same repeating tips is the like key, let's say key tips. But again, as Sandro mentioned a lot of time, you have to find your individual approach where you feel comfortable. And I support this idea very well. Jana, I have seen that you raised your hands, but we have a question, an answer slide at the end. So we will move to this stage as well at the end. So, and Mohammed, floor is for you. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. Again, I'm Muhammad, Chevening cohort 2024, studying MBA. Of course, unlike Sandro, it was my first try when I applied for the Chevening scholarship. So I'm sure that Sandro gave you most of the tips due to his big experience. Actually, one of the main thing that I want to mention before going through the structured interview, that I was facing different difficulties with regard convincing the panel of being an MBA, which you're already familiar with because this is not an attractive course. So hopefully my tips and my advice would help you with that. Next slide, please, Mia. Okay. Um, so my presentation would be more about the structure interview, not with your action within the interview, because the interview is your action, your personality, your gestures, and this is the 50%, and the other 50% is your answers and your critical thinking, the academic, the academic choice and leadership, etc. Okay, so we're gonna start. As you know, that of course the interview revolve about four main sections. That includes the leadership, networking, and of course the career, the educational, like why did you choose the university, etc., and the future plan or the career plan. Now, first, when we talk about this phase, which is very critical, and it is the phase of preparation for the interviews, you're probably now receiving tons of documents about questions. Like you might be asked this. Some of question are actually irrational that someone's wrote. I don't. There is a lot of rumors about question that it does not really exist within the interview and cannot be asked. So you would have this rush of documents. So what you need to do is to grab these documents, write these most similar questions, the questions that are paraphrased, write them in a one category. You categorize your question so you would have less documents to deal with. Because again, this phase you have documents from the previous scholars and documents that are coming from people who did the interview. And each panel in each country has different criteria, different aspects, not criteria about the accepting of the interview, different criteria of the questions. So you need to, paraphrase those, gather those in and narrow it down to make it reasonable. You would be able to answer this question, and that involves or related to the main for the four essays that you have written. Okay, so this is the first thing. You need to realize your essay, and you need to gather the questions and put them in categories so you don't overwhelm yourself. Okay, and pay attention. Do not get dragged by the rumors that are said in this whole Chevening group. So once you are shortlisted, you would be invited to tons of group. Do not get dragged into rumors. Make sure that everything is valid, verified. Now, let's start with the leadership part. The leadership part is actually not only about the essays you have wrote and you have delivered for the Chevening, panel. It is also about your own example. I build my own example. It differs from people. It differs from an individual to individual how they would present themselves. But I give them a new example because my perspective is that they already know what I'm gonna say. I don't want to make them, like bored or something like that. I want to make them interesting, grasp their attention. I want to make my answer interesting. So I presented something new. Okay. So you need to have first with this presenting this something new that you are going to present. You need to have a good illustration. Okay. So when they give you an example, again, the star situation, but make sure you create a valid problem. You don't create a problem that anyone would solve and then, okay, I solved this. Also, do not oversell your leadership. Do not oversell your leadership. Make sure you're not bragging, you're just being informative. Okay? Being bragging is what will give the other people the aspect of that, okay, this person is kind of, bragging about themselves. So you will not, uh, be liked by the panel. So you need to pay attention to that. Okay? This is the first thing about the illustration of your leadership. Do not be generic. Do not create situation that a lot of people are in. I told the situation that it really happened to me, and from my background of work, as long as you are more specific, you narrow down your example, that means you are unique. So make sure you are unique with your leadership answers. And you need to understand the characteristic of your leadership or the leadership in general and what leadership means to you. Because everyone had a regular, let's say, everyone interviews was maybe most of you was introduction, then they would go throughout these sections. Mine was different. They did not ask me to introduce myself. They did not care who I am. They started immediately, like, giving question about leadership started immediately. So you need to be prepared for different scenarios. So that's why you need to have the loop of your leadership. You need to have a good understanding of leadership. And also, some people would give you, and I'm going back to the example, some people would give you examples that are not professional. Okay, your example needs to be professional from your work, from your social life, but something professional. Do not, some people, I've heard some people when I did mock interview mentioning their kids, how they help their kids. I understand it's something amazing, but it's short. It is not, does not give an aspect. You're dealing with youth. They want the aspect that you were professional, you lead some people, you solved an issue, etc. Okay. This is about the leadership. Again, you have to understand the cycle of your leadership. So whatever they ask you, you would be able to answer that because you understand that. You understand your leadership perspective and everything is clear for you. As long as you have clear vision, no matter what question they might ask you, you would be able to answer that. Now, moving to the next part, which is networking. Okay, networking type of question or the pattern where might be similar to the leadership, but what differs it is that you have to illustrate the benefits of your networking to the three elements. They might not ask you any of these elements, but those will be asked and would be potentially asked. So you need to consider those elements. The benefits of your network for for your country, your relationship with the UK and your country, and for the Chevening community, Chevening alumni, or Chevening association. It depends. They might ask different question. And your organization, like in your past, what did you do for your organization? So also you need to make that connected, not separated. And do not again oversell yourself. Do not mention sophisticated word trying to impress them and this kind of again generic stuff. I will, let's say, for example, most of the people would say, I will share opinions, share experience. This is already they know that you will share your experience with your colleagues and with your achieving alumni. So make sure again you are unique. I'm not pushing you to come up with very different answers, but do not go to this area where most of the people who are shortlisted would be rejected because they are so generic. They don't present a value. You have to create your own value as a Chevening scholar. You have to present, this is my value. This is what my that's something that market me and distinguish me from other. Okay, you need to understand this. Now, also, you need to understand. Sorry, it says the leadership characteristic. No, the networking characteristic. Your own networking characteristic, because they will not ask you about other experience. They would ask you about your own experience about the leadership you have gone through. So make sure to understand that and make sure that you are, aware of your networking and you are aware of, you know, what is, uh, what you have done in your networking and mention again the examples and the illustration should be, the examples from your background and, you need again to have a good understanding of the cycle again of the networking. So this is the most two parts. And again, I'm mentioning it a lot. Do not, oversell yourself. Just be normal, be yourself, and make sure your answers are short. Do not extend your answers. And also about the example, do not give more than maximum two, and I would reckon one question, one example, and that's it. Do not give 2 to 3 examples. They will be lost. They will lost, concentration with you. They would lose the track. You'll lose your mark. That's it for you. Make sure the most important thing I would recommend is to be concise and to give one example that illustrate a big issue and illustrate your solving the problem. This is mainly for the first two structure of the interview. Now you might wonder why did not I mention the introduction? Introduction, it depends on you. Also in the introduction part, because they did not ask me to introduce myself. But if they ask you, make sure also you don't mention everything in the introduction. Leave a surprise element. Do not say, I did this and that. And they know already everything about you. You will be, not, let's say, not attractive to them. Okay, you need to save some for the rest of the section. Next slide, please. Okay, the education part. Okay, now do you have here two kind of path? The first path is people who choose the same course, okay, and the other path with people who choose different course, okay. For people who choose the different course, you need to connect those courses together. Sometimes people might choose different courses of development, but what is the common point? It is development. Sometimes people would choose like different courses of business. What is the main core point? Is business. So make sure to, when they ask you about the question why you have chosen this course, it is because if you have different courses, connect them in one area, but they are mainly those different courses focus on, and start your answer. Or if you're talking about one course, you can start talking about the course, the benefit of the course, what is the course, why did you get attracted to course, and make sure you connect that to your country. Like this is from my own perspective. Again, we're not saying stuff that is meant to be. We're saying stuff that we experienced. Okay, so make sure it is like related to your country, related to your own benefit, but you know and make sure when you explain the course, make sure you have a depth analysis of your course. Like you've been critical about mentioning your course benefits and these kind of stuff. So make sure your course explanation is good. Now moving to the university. Now, each people might explain their university different. Now, pay attention that when you ask, they might ask you about why did you choose your first university? Why this is your first option? And some people will start jumping from the first option, answering it, and without the panel permission, they would move to the second option, second university explanation. Why did they choose it? And they move to the third one. Do not do that. Do not do that. Be answer only relative information to the question. Do not jump to conclusion. Okay, they need the whole universities. Like if I'm memorizing everything and I know that what you asked, they only asked me about my first university. They did not, mention the rest, the other two options. Okay, so make sure you have a good explanation for each university, and you have united criteria. Okay, so when I told him why did I choose this university, I told him that I have a specific criteria. Let's say accreditation, apprenticeship, sorry, affiliation. What kind of curriculum we're looking for? What kind of modules I'm looking for? So pay it. Make sure that your criteria is united throughout the whole universities, the 3 universities options. Okay, Do not make sure, okay, I choose this because of different criteria and I choose this because of different criteria. That shows your randomization while you search for the university. You need to give them that, oh, no, I was organized. Okay, I was organized when I look for that criteria. This is my criteria, and start explaining about your first university. If they ask you for the second one, go for it. Do not ask them, can I explain the second one? Do not do that. They don't have time. Okay, make sure you answer only relative information. This is for the education. Also, when you say they might go with why did you study in the UK? Why do you want to study in the UK? Also avoid generic stuff. Make sure you have done your research, connect it with you. For me, when they ask me why do you want to study in the UK or what do you want to do when you're studying in the UK, I mentioned some conference related to MBA. It's not related to my university, not related of having fun. I told them that I would do this kind of stuff, having fun, amusement, but I make sure that okay, I'm gonna mention some academic stuff that I will benefit. So make sure of that. And when talk about university, some people will just go over the tourism part. Okay, just only the tourism part. You're not here to have fun. Once you are in the university, you're done. You would focus on your assignment. You barely have time for yourself. So do not. Okay, it's for the sea. They have a beautiful gardens. Okay, it's good, but not in this context. Maybe in a different question. When you ask about university, maybe mention something very unique about this city that the university is in. Other than that, do not, overtrack yourself with this kind of stuff. And now finally, to the most important part that took me a lot of time, and I'm sorry for, giving a lot of, taking a lot of time, but the future plan. You have the smart approach, as Sandro mentioned. You need to go to the smart approach, but this is it. This is the break even point. This is where you get their attention. Okay, this is, I think, from my own perspective and from the information that I gathered from different Chevening scholars, this is the most important part, and that what they are looking for. Make sure. Okay, first, in my essay, I did more an expansion in my future career plan, different from my essay. Like it's the same context, but in a more expansion. I connected that to the UK effort in my country. Okay, and if there's no UK effort, I'm sure they will be. There will be in the history. So make sure you look about that. The UK effort in my country, my background and how my background will help me to achieve that. My course and how my course will help me to achieve that. Okay, and my networking and how my networking with with Chevening Scholarship would help me to achieve that. So this is what combine all the elements to make the project you're looking for. Again, make it sure it's achievable and realistic. Do not go, uh, a lot. And when you start about explaining your future plan, make sure you mention the problem. You gotta give a problem. You have to have a problem statement, an introduction about, okay, let's say if you talk about education in your country, because of this and that, my education was, ruined in my country. I'm working on my education. Mention the steps. Do not make it lucent. Do not make it lucent. Make sure you're straight to the point. Make sure you're following the smart approach, and make sure you are clear and do not lose them. Do not lose their attention. Again, you can expand as much as you want from your essays, but make sure it's connected to your essay and make sure it mentions that your experience, what is your experience and how you would achieve that. Like mention your experience, how your project would help your country and would help UK efforts in your country. And again, of course, the modules you have studied. Those are the main stuff. Again, do not make it lucent. And that is for me. That's it for me. Sorry, Farouk, for taking a lot of time.
Not at all. Thank you so much. It was very inspiring, Mohammed. And yeah, I also remember we had a mock-up interview together.
Yeah,
So
about
I hope
this.
they was helpful. But yeah, again, I'm very proud mentor to see like the previous applicants, how they became a successful scholar, and now they are ready to share their experience to the future generation. So thank you again.
Thank you so
And
much.
Farouk, please, floor is for you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone. I think Mohammed and Sandro were very thorough. I think you should have taken notes for the tips they gave you. I'm gonna try to not be very repetitive because I think they've covered a big part of what you should do for your preparation for the interview. Next slide, please, Maya. So I'm gonna repeat it, but it's important to prepare. Preparation is key. And by preparation, I mean you prepare by yourself and with others. So first you need, as Sandra said, you need to do mock interviews yourself, record yourself, assess your tone of voice, assess your body language, because not all of us master that. Assess your language, semantics. You don't want to use words that convey uncertainty. You don't want to use I think. You want to use I believe. You want to use stronger words, but not do not fall into the trap of being generic and being like Muhammad said, do not oversell yourself. You need to pay attention to your words, to your tone of voice and body language. And you do that by preparing yourself, recording yourself, and everything. You also, it's personal. It's out of my personal experience, but I reached out to few alumni and asked them to interview me. I did already with Maya brought us, I remember, an alumni, and that alumni helped me a lot, especially like with how should I convey my story, with how should I tell them why am I right for Chevening, why Chevening is right for me. So try to do that. Try to reach out to alumni. Try to ask them to interview you. Not everyone will be not everyone will have the time to do that, but at least try. And you need also to be careful. So because not everyone will give you the same advice, and not every advice will apply to your story, will apply to who you are, to your experience. So we need to be critical about that as well. But I believe that in general, it will be helpful to do mock interviews with alumni. So during the D-Day, so during the interview, you need to be yourself. And you don't want to be stressed. You will not be stressed because normally, I think in general, the panel is friendly. So you don't need to be stressed. You will be stressed, obviously, but try to overcome that stress. I think stress is normal, but you try to overcome it and let your personality shine through your words, tone of voice, and body language. My next point is I'm gonna be a bit repetitive, but yeah, you need to master examples, either new examples or your examples that you mentioned in your essays. For me, I didn't come up with any new examples. I just read my essays again. I try to read my examples, to be specific about my examples, like expand on my examples, try to come up with every question that might ask. Like I wanted to master my examples. I wanted to know them like the back of my hand. Like if they ask me a question, I'm gonna be able to respond because I know that I wanted to let them know that yeah, these are my examples. These are my real examples, and I have thought about them. Like I've done this experience, like I've led a project, but it didn't end there. I thought about it, I assessed it after, I have reflected about it. I know what I could have done better. I know what was perfect, what wasn't. So especially about leadership and networking. And you want to focus, that was an advice that was given to me by a couple of few alumni. In your examples, start approach, obviously. In the results, you want to focus on impact, not just numbers, but you want to convey that you had an impact on your community, on your social surroundings. It doesn't have to be like you don't want to say, it needs to be like realistic. It needs to be like, I think every leadership experience has an impact. So you want to convey it, you want to tell them about it, but it doesn't have to be like that you change the life of 1,000 people. I think that's like great leadership, but like small things that matter and they are impactful. So for the why universities and why you want to study in the UK, you also need to be very specific. Like you want to read for your master's degree on the website. Like you want to go beyond, like you want to go into the details, what this university is offering, what this course is offering, what is special about this course. It doesn't have to be like a top university, or because my choices weren't really top apart from my first choice, which was University of Leeds. But you need to go into like details. Is this professor, I want to do I want to work with this professor? Do the university provide career advice in certain area? Do they have like a career advisor that is present on LinkedIn and that I like their content, for example? Do I wanna is there a conference that is organized annually in the UK that I want to attend? Is there you just wanna tell them that you did your research, like you just didn't read like very vaguely about your courses, about your masters, about universities. Um, so think about the details and reflect well on them. So my third point is show them also that you did your research about Chevening. You want them to know that you already have the Chevening spirit. You already know a lot about Chevening. You already know about the events Chevening organizes. You already know about the opportunities Chevening gives you. I remember I told them something, and in my case, they didn't even know about it, which is the social media ambassador rule that I applied to, but I didn't get. But yeah, I told them that I want to apply to that, and they were like, "Yeah, we've heard of it, but like we'll help you get it if you're keen about it." So I told them that I know a lot about Chevening. I told them that I spoke to Chevening from my country, but also spoke to Cheveners from other countries. I've been in part of a global mentoring program led by Maya, by Chevening, ex-scholar from Georgia. I told them that yeah, I am prepared, and I think I believe in myself. That's my last point. Like believe in yourself. Believe it was my first time when I applied, and I didn't have much experience. Like I had the 2 years of experience, but like for example, I think normally achievers have more experience, like that they have 4 or 5 years of experience that are like in mid-career. In my case, I wasn't in mid-career, and it was just about understanding the core of achieving, understanding the score guide, and believing in myself and showing them who I am during the interview. So I think that's it for me, and thank you.
Yes, inspiring again. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you guys. And yeah, I envy for all of these 60 people that are in the chat right now and listening to you. Because yeah, when I look at this from the perspective that I already passed this stage, yeah, I mean, it's very much interesting how you took a very specific tips which gonna be super helpful for them to calm down and be their self and be who they are, which is very important. So again, thank you so much for the contribution, for being here with me. And yeah, I'm leading this project already last 3 years, but without volunteering scholars alone, I don't know if I can really make it successfully, because as many perspective as you listen, guys, you can like write down best tips which is work for you to make yourself a very much prepare for the interview stage. So we are moving to the very interesting and your favorite slide, which is a question time. And yeah, I have seen two hands in the chat. And in advance, I want to say sorry if I don't pronounce your name, guys, correctly. And so we are already 1 hour here. So I want you to just ask a question directly and then mention the speaker that you want to hear the answer. So Oluwasegun, I don't know. Sorry again if I don't pronounce your name correctly. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely correct. My name is Oluwasegun. So I'm from Nigeria. And first and foremost, I want to say big thank you to you, Maya, for organizing this. I'm part of your mentorship program, and I must say it has been incredibly helpful. So thank you so much. And also big thanks to all the contributors, people who have spoken today. Thank you. You guys have really been super helpful. So I have a series of questions in my head, and anyone can actually answer. My first question would be, how much do you think having a previous master's degree kind of like play, a role in getting a Chevening scholarship? So personally, I have a master's degree. This is going to be my second master's degree if I get into Chevening. So how do you think that kind of play a role in that? My second question would be, you said it should be conversational, which is what I've heard a lot of times. Um, I is it necessary to have questions, or you can just if it gets to that point where they ask you, do you have a question? Can you just say you don't have a question, or do you consider this as a red flag if you don't have a question? Does that does that mean that you're not really thinking about Chevening too much or something, or do you advise that there has to be a question? I think that's all I have. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. The speaker, you can answer.
I can answer because I already had a master's degree, but I applied for the second one. It was perfectly fine. It's just, I think the good thing is to mention why you actually want to have a second master's degree. But unless you got your first master's degree in the UK, I don't think that's the problem. As for the second question, again, I would approach this from the common sense standpoint. You're talking with someone and you most probably have a lot of questions about the Chevening, which you want to know. So ask them. It's not like asking the question for the sake of being liked, because, I mean, if I was an interviewer and I had several applicants, I definitely wouldn't give any advantage to those who have questions compared to those who don't. It's all very subjective. Maybe someone would like you more because of you having questions. Maybe someone would like you less. But as I said in my presentation, I don't think that it's our job to try to be liked, because it's out of our reach. We cannot control that. What we can control is actually what we say about the forces we have written. This is how I see it.
Yeah, if the
Thank you.
speakers want to add anything, like other than Sandro mentioned, just guys go ahead. And
So for me, I also had a master's degree before, from my country, and I don't think it has a negative connotation or a positive. I don't think it really matters. I think what matters is that you need to tell them why have you chosen that master's, and why have you chosen that master's. Maybe because of your experience, or maybe because of your last master's, you learned something and you wanted to explore further. So it just needs to be connected, and I don't think it has negative or positive influence on no matter what. I don't think so. So this is my personal opinion.
yeah, same as me. I also had master in Georgia. And yeah, it's totally you. You have to show them that this is the right time for you, that you need this theoretical knowledge and you have some gaps. So the main idea is to show them necessity of studying in the UK. Jana, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, Maya, for this session, and thanks for the speakers. My question is for Sandro. I'm so glad that there's someone who was in the reserve and made it. I want to ask him about like what have he done differently in his last interview. I know he mentioned briefly about what the change he will do in the industry and so on, but if he can like elaborate more on this, it will be beneficial for me.
Um, that's the good question. I really don't think that there was that big difference between my two reserve cases compared to that one when I got upgraded. I think, yeah, the biggest difference was me putting the bigger emphasis on change in my career plan. So basically, all three goals I had, they were serving one bigger change, which I was saying I would achieve when I come back from the UK. And basically, short, mid, and long-term career goals, I presented them as each step of me achieving one bigger goal in my industry, in my country. I'm not sure if it made the difference or not, because again, to be honest, like this year we had 10 achievers from Georgia. Last year we had 12 or a bit more. Last year I didn't make it. This year I made it. So, I mean, it's really hard to find the logic or some equation there. I mean, I tried to do that a lot of times, but in the end, I just thought it doesn't make sense. So, basically, as I see it, the best strategy is focus on what you are going to say, practice all the shit, work on the structure, and that's it. Focus on what actually you can do and you can control other than on the circumstances which are outside of what you can do. Yeah, probably that's my answer.
Oh, thank you so much for this.
Hasti, go ahead.
Is my voice clear? Hi
Yes.
everyone, I'm Hasti, an Iranian applicant that want to study pharmacology. I'd like to thank Thea Maya for this great session, and I have one question. Will the panelist team prepare one of our example and ask question about it, or will they ask us to explain an example of our choices? I would be thankful.
Guys who feel comfortable to answer, go ahead.
In my case, it wasn't. They didn't ask me about my examples. They asked me like questions you can find like on the net. But I think they read your essays. They have your essays. So they ask you about. They ask you like questions about leadership. They ask you to give your example. They don't ask you directly like, oh, you mentioned in your essay that, and they want you to give an answer. But I think that's the general rule of thumb. So, but you should be prepared in case, just in case, let's say. But as a general rule of thumb, I don't think they ask this kind of questions.
Thanks a lot. Can I ask another question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks. Unfortunately, there are no political relationship between Iran and the UK. And in my essay, I mentioned that I want to establish the Chevening Pharmacists Association, as it would be beneficial for promoting cultural awareness. Do you think is it okay for the future when I want to have network with Chevening alumni or something like this? Is it a good reason for that, or should I have a more strong reason?
Can you repeat the reason, the answer you've said?
Yes, I mentioned that I want to establish a Chevening Pharmacists Association, and with the leader from another ward, we can be beneficial to promoting cultural awareness.
Yeah, that would be great, but you can add something that is more directly to the relationship for the UK with Iran, because the relationship is not perfect at the
Yeah.
moment. Hopefully, it will be, but try to focus on that part. I would recommend that. Your answer is very good, but cultural awareness is not a priority for the UK within the Iranian file. If you get me,
Yes, exactly.
yeah,
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
not a problem.
Thank you. In the list for me, just a minute. I have Heman. Heman, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Maya. Thank you, first of all, for adding me in WhatsApp group. Uh, Also, I come from, I'm from Pakistan, and I come from a marginalized minority community in Pakistan. And I am a first one in my community to be shortlisted and to make it this stage of the Chevening. So, if suppose they ask me a question, is it okay if I mention this thing in my interview, or I can mention this thing during my, leadership example, or bring this example in the networking. Also, my second question is that when they ask about why did you choose these universities, or why did you choose these courses? So, is it okay if I talk about first the reason that I chose the UK to connect my answer with then talking about the universities? I hope my answer is clear. My question is clear. Sorry.
Um, Also, I'll take that. Or I'll take the second part about the university first. So basically, I would not recommend. Okay, I want to study in the UK. It's like I'm listening to your question, but I'm gonna answer a different question because I this is what I memorized. No, no. Make sure if you want to mention, as I told you in my presentation. I don't know if you were attending. Make sure you mention your criteria because they know you already want to start in the UK, to study in the UK. You have applied for the Chevening scholarship, so they already know. It's obvious, but make sure to mention your criteria of why did you choose this university if you want. Okay, this is okay. So I choose all three university was based on ranking. Let's say, for example, okay, was based on ranking of this kind of ranking. So each pharmacist has different ranking, MBA has different ranking. It depends, okay? So make sure you mention a criteria if you want, which I would recommend, and then you can go and answer the university questions. This is for your second part. For your first part, um, so when you mention being and I'm sorry to hear that, being a marginalized minority in Pakistan, make sure you're not, just putting in without the need of the context. Make sure you're not shove this fact, which is very unfortunate if you've been, discriminated or this kind of thing. Make sure you not mention it in a non-related context. Okay, if they talk about leadership, it's a good example. It's a good context related. You can mention the thing that is related to your leadership with your difficult background. Okay, so a lot of countries who applied for Chevening scholarship, and sorry for extending on that, they come from disadvantaged background. Let's say war countries, this kind of thing. It is important to mention that so they can be aware, and or they are already aware. Okay, with these kind of disadvantage and the obstacles, the achiever was able to achieve these points. It's good to mention that, but make sure it is in the right context. It's not about, okay, I need to get your attention to that just out of nowhere. Okay? Hope my answers were clear for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mohammed, for comprehensive answer. Also, do I need to, mention the reason that why I'm going for the specific course? So, do I need to, talk about the motivation behind the specific course that I choose?
Yeah. If they ask you why did you have choose the course, or you could mention that, and if they ask you why did you choose this university without jumping to the course, you have first to have like say two lines to explain why you have chosen this uh course, okay, and then you're going to go to the university, okay. But if they did not ask you about the course itself and start asking about university, please give short time of the motivation behind choosing the course.
Okay, thank you. One last question. In your career plan, you mentioned that you need to first talk about the problem and then talk about the career plan. So, is it okay if I mention the three challenges and divide them in three phases, like uh, uh, short term, mid term, and long term? Talk about three challenges and divide in three phases.
Mhm.
Is it a
So you're
wise?
mentioning that you have three different problems in three different periods, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's I intend to address.
Well, for me, I'm gonna give you my experience, and it's up to you. For me, I addressed all the challenges, like four challenges, but they were short. I addressed four challenges within the introduction, and then moved to the and I did not mention short term, midterm. Okay, I mentioned short and long, so I don't lose their concentration because you will be, shooting a lot of information. You want to keep them concentrate. That's the point you need to consider. So if you mention a short term and a problem, a midterm and a problem, and a long term and a problem, I think even if they 100% focus, they drink their coffee, they won't be able to keep track. That's from my perspective. I don't know if other scholars have a different opinion, but this is from my perspective.
And also, it's something I absolutely agree with Muhammad. Like, it's in every of you has to be very cautious in order not to bombard them with a lot of information. Because again, as we said, they are the people and they hear a lot of stuff. So probably they interview tens, if not hundreds, depends on the country, of applicants. The ability to absorb of what you're saying, it eventually diminishes because there are people and they get tired. So I would say that the less is more. I mean, if you can unite all your three problems you mentioned into one big goal and present this as you solving one big problem, I think it would be easier for the panel to understand what you are trying to change in your country. I mean, I would say it would be better simplicity wise. But again, that's my opinion.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Haidar, go ahead,
Yes,
please.
yeah. Hello, everyone, and thank you for organizing the session. It's very helpful. My name is Haider. I'm from Iraq, and I'm a candidate for studying digital health. And I wanted to ask a question about the interview, which is, does the interviewers do like twisted questions or like triggering questions that like maybe like they aim to get some kind of answer, or are they just like straightforward questions? So yeah, feel free to answer like any of the speakers.
I can answer because I have experienced different interviewers. Yes, I had experience when someone tried to ask the tricky question, which made no sense to me back then, and honestly, it still doesn't make sense to me. I have no idea why someone would ask you that. But I think it depends on the people and on the culture. But again, my other two interviews and what other achievers usually say is that most of the time the panel is quite friendly and helpful. So unless you're unlucky, which of course might happen, you most probably will get the people who are trying to help you. This is
Yeah, thank you very much. This is very helpful. And also, I have a second question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, about the follow-up questions, like, are they usually related to what I'm presenting, like what example or what story I'm presenting, or like do they bring like other questions out of nowhere?
I think follow-up questions are about what you say on the spot. Like if you have said something and it's not clear for them, they'll ask about it. For example, I remember a question. So I gave them an example about about what I worked in a company and where I changed something, and then I left the company. So it was kind of a trick question, but I don't think it's. I would call it a trick question, but it's not. It's just a follow-up question. They asked like, "How did the manager feel about you leaving the company?" It was unexpected. I would call it. I wouldn't call it trick question, but it's. I think it's all about like what you say, and sometimes if you are like thorough, you are like you give them all of the details, so they might come up with questions like that. So be prepared for it. But I wouldn't say there are like trick questions. I remember also I also remember from my experience they asked the British guy asked me like what kind of food do you like about the UK? It was a bit of a trick question because I remember I didn't know much about the UK cuisine. But yeah, but it was even though I just said I remember I just said tea and fish and chips, they laughed and it was fine. So it was
That's
part of the conversation. So do not stress about it.
yeah, so great. So it's like just as you said, part of the conversation is just not like just like a conversation with two people. Thank you so much for your answers. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I just want to add a small comment as I have been last year the panelist for the interviews. Again, it's depending on country, first of all. So I'm just sharing my experience as Georgian panelist. Most of the interview that I was leading, I mean, like 98%, we did not even ask follow-up question. The candidate was very much prepared. But I remember the couple of candidates that other panelists with me who has been with me, they have asked some follow-up question, but like based on the speech that they present. But it was only one case that I just wanted to share as an example that one of the panelists asked question that she was like, "Oh, I have read your essay. You mentioned this, but right now you're presenting this. Can you please?" I don't remember exactly the situation, but it was like comparing that how she can leading the other problem as a leader to mix these two example. It was something like that, but it was a first experience out of like I don't know 12 candidate that I had. I've been panelist, so sometimes happening like that. Mentally prepare yourself for an expecting question, read your essay, and the question or follow-up question is not out of your context, what you mentioning either, or you have written in your essay. So Lizzie, go ahead, please.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, fine. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Lizzie and I'm from Malawi. Well, I have this question. When the interview panel asked me a question concerning my leadership or networking skills, examples, should I have to tell them the examples which I wrote in my essay, or I have to tell them new skills like maybe the ones I didn't wrote in my essays? Should I just tell them examples in my essay only? Yeah, so that's it.
For this, we have talked about that in the presentation. It is up to you. I mentioned new examples because they already know my examples, so I want to give them something new. I want to create a value for my leadership, so I give them a new example. But it's fine if you mention an example you have already written, but all of those, both of them has pros and cons. The cons of the new example, you might get a new follow-up question. You might be not clear. You have to take the risk, but it's important that it will give you, again, a value for you, that it is something interesting that they first seen, not have seen in your, essay. So you need to consider the pros and cons and go with that.
Yeah, I also would like to add that again, use your judgment, reread your essays, examine your career plan and your leadership experience. networking experience or whatever, would this fit your overarching story, the spirit of your essays better? If you think that the new example would fit better, then go for it. If it's just a new example and you want to edit in for the sake of having the new example, then probably don't. So use your judgment on that one.
All right, thank you.
We have left 5 minutes, and I've just seen that we have 5 raised hands. So if you can please shortly directly ask the question, and our panel will answer. Asma, you are the next person in my screen.
Okay, thank you, Sandro, Mohammed, and Farouk. My question is, I studied my bachelor. I'm from Sudan. I'm a candidate for Chevening studying mental health. I studied my bachelor degree in community health management, but my work experience is in project management in education. How can I adapt or convince the panel that I need to acquire this knowledge so I can fill this gap and make the change in Sudan?
I'll take that because this is what happened. This is for me. It is very hard to convince them about the MBA. So I'm to make sure you wanted to align your job experience, your work experience within the future course or your educational background. Which one?
Both.
Both. Okay, I'm gonna mention my case and you can abstract the thing. So I graduated as an agriculture engineer. And then my career path started in everything related to business. I started as the director of international relation, administration, etc. So everything was related to business, and I totally forgot the agriculture engineer. And if you ask me now something about plants, it's done. There's nothing back there. So I actually, when I was answering them, I never mentioned about the education part because I want to grasp their attention about my background because it is the most related to MBA. So I started mentioning within my example, work only, like work only example, future career related to work only. So I did not, I did not go back to my educational path. This is how I convinced them to give me the MBA, even though I have a different bachelor degree.
If the other speakers want to add anything, feel free. If not, we can move to the next applicant. And yeah, for me is Lamis.
Hello, Maya. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So my question is, when they ask why the UK, so I've heard a lot of opinions about this, but I feel like I'm still confused as to how I should structure it. I mean, should it be like entirely personal? Should it be composed of entirely personal reasons, like my interest in the UK culture, music scene, whatever, or should it be structured as in like academically, I want to study in the UK because of this and that, and then professionally, and then lastly, like what it means to me, like as a person to study there. That's my question.
I can take it. I think that with any examples and any arguments you usually present, it's better to evaluate them, how strong they are. The one which you consider the most strong, the most impactful, use this first, then the second best, and the third best. This is the strategy I used rather than thinking, oh, because again, they definitely want to hear what are you expecting academically wise from the universities, obviously. They want to hear why do you want to be exactly in the UK, and they want to hear why do you want to do it through the Chevening scholarship. So basically, and also probably it should fit into your past, and into your future. These are the ingredients of your answer. And it's probably best to have all four, but the way you structure them, which will be first, second, and third, it's up to you. Also, it's important, and I mentioned this now answering in the chat, that the longer you speak, the biggest is the higher is the chance that they eventually will interrupt you and move to the another thing, which would make you lose some important points which you would love to convey. So it doesn't matter how you structure them. What matters is the you actually being able to mention all of them. This is how I see it.
That's very clear. Thank you.
So we left two questions. Lua, Adil, go ahead, please.
Hello there, how are you? Well, I have a fellow question from my colleagues, that when we use the same example that we already mentioned in our essays about the leadership and networking, that will not count, duplicate the information that already been set in, or been they reading our essays, that will be not, that will consider that we didn't do anything new to add to our networking or skills as a leader. Because I want to, but I don't want, maybe if I mention another question, another example about my leadership or networking, that maybe it's not going to structure well as my essay. So I want to depend on my essay example. That's what I want to do, but I can't. I'm so scared that maybe will that mention that we didn't have more skills or about the leadership, just that one. That confusing us in the interview or not? That's okay. Thank you.
I can take this. I think it's you need to weigh the pros and cons, like Mohammed I already said. For myself, like I didn't mention any new examples, although I had a new experience, but I mentioned it like in other way. I mentioned it when I introduced myself. I kind of included it in my future plan, but I stick with my examples for one reason, because they were my strongest examples and they had like the biggest impact, and I was confident about them. And I was also able to expand on them a little bit more. So that's why I stick with my examples. But I think if you have a better example, why not? But like if you don't have a better example, just take your examples and expand on them. And if you have a new experience, you can add it somehow. Like even if it's not that strong, you can add it in the introduction. You can add it in your future career plans. You can add it in your why you said you want to study this course or this course. So it solely depends on you. Like you need to think about it, to reflect whether is it a good thing or not. Like whether your new example, can you like, is it structured? Is it strong? Is it stronger than your essays example? So it's up to you, I think.
Thank you. And our last question, Mohammed Ado, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Maya, for bringing us together. My question is related to university applications. I've applied for a couple of universities in the UK, and I have been rejected by so many of them because what I have studied and what I am pursuing at this moment, the course I'm pursuing at this moment is different. And even though I prove to them that I have a number of years of professional working experience, still I don't get an offer from them. So I just wanted to know about, is there a process that can help me to navigate through this process? So that would be great. So thank you all.
I can give an answer, I think. For me as well, when I first applied, when I got like pre-selected, I remember like I got rejected from 2 universities, but you need to check. When I changed my cover letter, my personal statement, I got accepted. So you need to check your application, I think. check your CV again, check your, I think they, in the UK in general, they really care about like your cover letter. So you need to give it proper attention. You need to really write it well. And I think you're gonna be fine. I don't know, I think you should check your application again. Like your CV, your cover letter, your I don't know, your whole application. That's my personal advice.
Yeah, what I also can add it about your question is that reach out to the course leader of your program, ask them specific question. And like in my cases, I even had a Zoom meeting with them. They are very open. They are very helpful. They are interested in to have more international student as much as they can. So they are focused on this and try to find their email, reach out to them, say that, like mention that you're a Chevening applicant, you're very into this program for X, Y, and Z reason, and ask them advice. Like, of course, I'm sure and I believe that you won't going to say like, okay, this is my application. Can you review? Because I quite often receive kind of question. Not like that, just like specifically go with them a very specific question that you have. Where is your gap, you think, and ask the advice, like what you can change to be part of this course. I've just seen one more raised hand. I know we are already over our time with 7 minutes, and I promise this is the last question. Harnian, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for your time. Sorry, I got into the meeting late. May I kindly ask that, is there any way that I can access the recorded session or the slides?
Yes, recorded session gonna be on our YouTube channel, which is Global Chevening Mentorship YouTube channel. I have not upgraded it this year so far, but I have recorded all of the meetings. But I promise that I will do as far, like as quickly as I can, because of my work and some fundraising stuff that I'm doing. I was quite busy, so I was not able to don't like upload any new videos. But there are also last year like videos from last year's, so you can go and check. But I promise that I will upload the video as fast as I can. So
Thank you very much. Great. Sorry. Can I know the name of the channel, or is it on the Facebook?
So like if you see it's the Global Tuning Mentorship, like on the sharing screen, it's the Facebook like page. Also, you can follow me on Instagram, which is my Chevening journey, that I'm always like posting about Chevening, and also our YouTube channel, which is like also Global Chevening Mentorship on YouTube.
Okay, thank you. So the name of the YouTube is Global Chevening Mentorship, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So thank you so much again to the outstanding Chevening scholars and alumni for being here with me to support for future generation. I really, really appreciate that time, guys, and I admire to seeing you that you're doing a great job in the UK, and I'm super proud of you. And guys, in our global mentorship program, we have one session left, which is 15th of March. And see you there. I will for sure sending you the email again or posting the news on our Facebook page or on my Instagram page. So take care. I will just stop recording. And for the speakers, if you just can stay with me for a couple of minutes.